All right. So first and foremost, your name, please.
Anel Lilich.
And how do I spell that?
Anel.
Anel.
Last name Lilich.
Lilich. Okay. And this project is really just find a unique story and kind of write about that and how that kind of shaped your life and all. I know coming here with a little bit of background knowledge, of course. Can you just kind of walk me through that to begin
Just
with?
like in general, from like beginning to end.
Whatever you feel comfortable with. Yeah, that'd be perfect.
So I was born in '91 in Bosnia, just before so Yugoslavia I think had split a couple of years before.
Okay.
The last country to split was Bosnia, so I think I was born probably like 6 or 7 months before. Actually, it might have been a year before the conflict in Bosnia started. So I was kind of raised through that war and genocide, and we can get, if you have questions about that, we can get into the details of that. But basically, we lived through that, and then an Episcopalian church in like northeast Georgia sponsored us as refugees. So we moved to the States in 2000s. I think I was 11 years old, and yeah, I went to school and I was kind of raised in northeast Georgia, and went to Emmanuel College for my undergrad and played soccer, and then did my master's at North Georgia, and then kind of full circle working at North Georgia.
So during like that, sorry to interrupt you. So like during like that like Bosnian War, is that the correct term for Bosnian War? Is there
probably would, yeah. It was
okay. Is there any like defining moments that happened like during your life that like, was there something like very big or like very like
so like we actually lived on the border of Bosnia and Serbia.
Okay.
So like when the war started, our houses were like the first to get burned down. So we were pretty much homeless like the whole war. I'm pretty sure everyone in my family was shot in some way. Like my mom had a bullet go through her arm. No one was killed, luckily. My uncle got shot in the brain. He ended up living an extra 10 years. Another uncle had a grenade blow out, hit like half his back, so he was living for about 20 years with one kidney. I guess the craziest story was like my mom, because all the men, because it was a civil, so like the Serbian forces had a military, and in Yugoslavia, everyone at the age of 18 had to go into the military. So like all the men were military trained, but it was like a civilian war versus a military war. So like my father and uncles and everyone was on the front lines.
Sort of like a militia kind of like a draft.
Yeah. So it was my mom from our little town or village. It's probably a better word for it. So my mom, my grandmother, my aunt, myself, and this other little girl were the only ones to survive. And my mom, in that group, I guess the craziest story was like she hid me under a mass grave of dead bodies. And then like, I think I was a year old. So she thought that she had killed me because she had to hold my mouth shut because I was crying as the soldiers were walking around. But that was probably like the craziest of the stories outside of that.
That is very interesting.
But yeah, we were like in the woods and pretty much hiding, and my dad and my uncles would come back and carry us to the next town. And so yeah, that was probably some pivotal moment, and just like seeing death and everything around from an early age. And then, we made it to Sarajevo, and the city was under siege for like a year and a half. So
you said you were a refugee at Georgia, is that correct? In Georgia?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what age was that, like around that?
So we started the process probably like when I was 8.
Okay.
And it was through like in Split in Croatia, and then like this family sponsored us, and then we came in July of 2000. So I was 9.5, just turned 10.
All right. And then during that time as like a refugee, is there like any like kind of like specifics that really helped you get through those tough times?
Yeah, I mean, so we were lucky that like that church that sponsored us, like they became really close family friends, and they helped my parents like get jobs as soon as we got here, and kind of helped us through the first couple of years as they got acclimated. I'm sure they'd have a better story, my parents, because they were in their 30s when they came, but like as a 9-year-old, everything was just like that things were working out, you know. But yeah, we had some help from them till my parents got on their feet, and then like we still keep in contact with like the pastor that was a pastor then, and a couple of the people that were in the church, you know, to this day. So
and then at what age did you kind of immigrant to America and kind of start your life in the Western world?
So we, like, as Bosnians, there's like a community in Atlanta that's probably at that time would have been around 10 to 20,000 Bosnians, and like St. Louis has like 100,000 because of our immigration process and being sponsored by I mean, we literally went from Sarajevo to like the most rural
You can
town.
essentially.
Like a super rural town, like a retirement town. And so I didn't really speak English when I came at 9.5. My parents kind of forced me to learn it. We came in July and I started school in August, so I was forced to kind of learn it. So I guess to answer your question, I didn't really have much, like within that month, because I was the only kid that's not American going to school there. Like I kind of got integrated pretty quickly.
Yeah. So, do you know, like, when you kind of started that process, like, did they purposely put you in that town because there's a lot of Bosnians around there, or was it just kind of like random selection?
I think it was just random selection because we were the only ones. Like, we're still pretty much the only family there. Once my grandmother and my aunt and uncle came to the States, they originally came from New Orleans, but they moved up to be closer to my mom, so like they're kind of the only family there that's Bosnian within like an hour, because we're about an hour north of Atlanta.
And I'm also aware you're a soccer coach.
Yeah.
Is that true? What kind of role has soccer played in your life? And, like, did that help you kind of adapt to the American lifestyle and help you, like, adjust?
Yeah, so, I mean, I played in Bosnia, and then, like, as soon as I came here, you know, the people from the church, there was a guy that kind of started soccer where we were in Northeast Georgia. That was a part of the church, and he got me involved. So, like, within a couple of months, I was playing. And maybe because I had played so much, you know, like lifestyle was different in Europe. You know, like we'd go to school. So I finished 4 grades in Europe. So you'd go to school for 4 hours, and it was from 8 to 12, and then the rest of the day you're just outside playing. So, so I was okay at soccer. I was decent. Yeah, I think it helped a lot because, you know, obviously with my parents just coming over and they were working a lot. A lot of the families wanted to help, and like they were taking me to practices and things like that. So it allowed me to create a bond with them, but also with their kids, and kind of grow a friendship with people right away. And again, that happened all like within a month. We were here, and then it was.
So just a quick kind of turnaround from one life to another.
Yeah. Yeah.
And did you have any big problems adapting at all, or were you just kind of, I'm a 9-year-old kid, I'll switch from one thing to another, just like?
It was kind of difficult, like at first. I mean, obviously, like in 2000, social media and stuff wasn't around, so like I'd write letters back to some of the friends I had in Bosnia. I guess the most difficult part, honestly, was like when I came in 2000. Everyone was so like eager to learn about cultures and things, and you know, my parents were Muslim, and it was kind of the part of the war was partially religious. So like when I first came over, you know, like everyone's asking questions and you tell them, and then like 9/11 happened, and we're in a town, it's pretty country.
Yeah.
So there was a gap of a couple of years that, you know, you felt almost like isolated because you don't feel a part of that group. And obviously with 9/11, the country was kind of on high alert. I would say like that's one of the difficult parts about, you know, the time I came over. You know, I have some family and friends that would have maybe came over in their 20s or 30s, and they're still like highly culturally regarded as like Bosnian, like whether they're here or not.
Yeah.
Whereas like I came as a kid, and I'm part of this culture, which I kind of love, because I grew up in Bosnia, but like my nurturing years and like actually growing as an adult was in America. So, you know, the difficult parts, you know, you're not, especially as teenagers, you're not really a part of one group, and then I'd go back home in the summer, and then like to them, I'm American.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, I think that part was like, again, and it was probably more so, you know, my parents knew only a couple of families in the community, and they were very hesitant, you know, and almost like helicopter parents sometimes, you know, and they didn't trust, you know, where I'd go and whatnot. So that affected it. But I think, again, going back to your previous question with soccer and being involved in sports, like that helped at least nurture friendships and like it was almost like a fraternity, you know, when you're part of an athletic team, you almost have an automatic like brotherhood or fraternity right away. So
kind of following up with what you said, like, did you ever feel like you kind of didn't have like a sense of belonging somewhere, like especially in your early years in America? Like, did you feel like, oh, I'm this Bosnian immigrant, I don't really belong here, and then like how kind of your Bosnian friends kind of view you as you like
go home. I guess that's kind of difficult to answer because I was so young.
Yeah.
I think that phase in like 5th and 6th grade was a little bit difficult, but at the same time we were so young. Like, I mean, that 9/11 era, like I remember, were you born? Yeah, you weren't.
No,
you
I
weren't
was
even born.
Yeah.
Like I remember coming, like we were supposed to have a PTA meeting and everything got canceled at school and we didn't know what was going on. So like I got home and my mom was like, anybody asks anything, you're just Bosnian. Like, you know, so.
Yeah, so
kids,
like about that,
forgot.
would anyone like, it's kind of a sensitive question, like would anyone like kind of be like prejudiced toward you, kind of say like, oh, like kind of like ignore you a little bit, even though like they may or may not have known your past?
Right, yeah, I mean, I think again, like pre 9/11, everyone was like so intrigued, and they're like, what is it? And then that happened, and then, I mean, they're 10-year-old kids, 10 and 11-year-old kids, so I wouldn't go as far as to say like bullying or anything, but like kids were mean, but I don't know if it's good for a project. I was always taught to kind of defend myself, and then I also had a good core group of friends that, you know, so it was maybe like a week thing or something, but you know, that was probably the most difficult part of the integration outside of, you know, my parents not knowing people in the community, and, you know, like some, you know, other families have family friends and they're okay with going places and this and that, whereas everything was foreign, you know, to my parents. So I was probably home more than a lot of kids outside of soccer until I was able to drive and be a teenager, and then I got kind of rebellious and did my own thing. So
it's kind of how teenagers are. I know I've kind of done the same thing. And I'll leave you with this last question. How was your past in Bosnia and kind of immigrating? How has that kind of like shaped you into the man you are, and how do you carry on like your ideals today? Like, do you keep that stuff in mind? Do you like, I don't know, do you just cherish every second of every day because of what could have happened and what did happen?
Yeah, I mean, like, as a human being, you forget things, you know, but I do think like it's helped me in terms of, you know, my parents came here and I, you know, they still think it, but, you know, especially in 2000, like America was a dream of, you know, a land of opportunity, and they came here more so probably for me and my sister than themselves. So through what we went through in Bosnia and translating here, like the characteristic of, you know, work ethic and working hard for everything that you want to achieve was part of it. And maybe because we didn't have much growing up. So yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely played a big part in where I'm at today. And, you know, the things I've done is, it's almost like when bad things happen or like, you know, life happens, I'm oddly like not stressed ever at all. Just, and maybe that's because I can revert back to, you know, there's been worse times in life, you know, so I think that's helped me overcome things, and then just again know that there's kind of a light at the end of the tunnel, and if you do work hard and treat people right and do the right things, and you'll get rewarded for it. So yeah, I mean, I do think my childhood and like where we came from and what we had and what we didn't have has impacted maybe how much I appreciate things in life. And again, not daily, I'm human, but you know, like even like I appreciate you having this conversation because it brings you back to like a foundation and a reality that, you know, there's a lot of people that are going through worse things, but also where we are now is not as bad as where we might have been in the past. And you know, so yeah, it's kind of like if I get into situations that are difficult, I might revert back on that as like a, you know, back against the wall type analogy and push forward to try to get through whatever, you know, whether that's work related or family or relationships or just day-to-day life things. So
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much. This has been more than enough. No, thank you very
if
much.
you need anything
That was
else for
awesome.
the paper,
Okay.
let me know.